What's up, everyone? Art here with No Code Devs, and today we're going to build a Google Trends type site using data from Google Trends. This is going to be super cool. We're going to take the data feed that Google Trends provides, we're going to run it through Zapier, and then sync it all to Softr, which is a front-end builder. We're going to add some additional functionality like the ability to search and filter, which actually isn't even available on Google Trends. So this will be a fun build. It'll be just a few minutes. It's pretty easy to get set up. I hope you enjoy it. Let's dive in. All right, so let's get going. We have landed here on the Google Trends website. If you're not familiar with Google Trends, essentially it's a site where you can drill into popular search terms and analyze what people are searching for on Google. So they have this feed here where it actually breaks down what's popular by day. So today, the sort of number one search thing on Google is National Hot Dog Day. You can go back in time and see the day before and so on and so forth. So this is great, but it's very simple. It doesn't really give you a whole ton of functionality. We're going to take this data and we're going to repurpose it and build our own site using the Google Trends data. So to start off, if we're on the Google Trends site, they have this little icon here, which is a RSS feed icon, which is essentially just a data feed of everything on this site. So great. So we're going to go ahead and click this feed, and we get this sort of raw data feed of everything that's coming into Google Trends. We're going to go ahead and copy the URL because what we want to do is we want to build a Zap with Zapier to automate this data into our front end website. We'll build out a complete front end. So let's go ahead and go over to Zapier. Zapier is just an automation tool where you can connect APIs together. We'll go ahead and click Create Zap. And our trigger step, the step that we want to have happen when something occurs, is called our trigger. So we're going to search for RSS, and there's this trigger RSS by Zapier. What do we want it to do? We have two choices here. We want to do new item in feed. Let's go ahead and click continue. Now this is where we're just going to paste in the URL from this site here. So let's go ahead and paste this in. We don't need a username and password because this isn't behind like a login wall or anything like that. And we can just click continue. It's actually going to give us this button where we can click test trigger. So let's go ahead and do that. And as you can see, we got some sample data here from our feed. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and click continue. And that's just the first step. So we got this feed coming into Zapier. Zapier is going to watch for any new data that comes into the feed. When a new trending article appears in Google Trends, Zapier will automatically pick it up, but now we have to do something with this data. What we want to do is we want to send this data to a website that we're going to build on Softr. If you're not familiar with Softr, is a no-code website builder that integrates with Airtable, and it makes it super easy for anyone to build a data-driven website using data in Airtable. So what we're going to do is we're going to send our Zapier data over to Airtable so that we can populate it in Softr. So let's go ahead and go over to Airtable. Okay, now that I'm in Airtable, I went ahead and I set up a base, which is just basically like a giant spreadsheet for different trends. I've populated it with some data here using Zapier already, just for the sake of demonstration, but you get the idea here. So I have a name, a URL, an image from the article, a summary of the article, any sources that the article might be from. So if it's from CNN or the BBC News, it would populate here. And then the number of searches that were made about this piece of content. So we're gathering all the data in the Google Trends and we're putting it into this Airtable. So let's go back to Zapier and we're going to choose for our action step Airtable. Let's go ahead and choose this. And what do we want to do whenever a new piece of data comes into the Google Trends? We want to create a record. Okay, let's go ahead and click continue. Which account do we want to use? We'll use this one, which we've already connected. If you haven't connected your Airtable, it's a one-step automation or one-step click to connect your Airtable. Now we have to choose our base. We're just going to choose trends. And which table do we want to use? We want to use table one. So if we come back here, we just have this one table one. If you had multiple tables, you would just choose whichever table you wanted it to be. Okay. So now we've got the base set up, we've got the table set up. So now this is where we start connecting our data. So for the name, we actually want to choose the name of the article. So for this one here, let's see, let's take a look at all the different data sets that we have. And here it is, raw news item title, Trump Mar-a-Lago affidavit reveals. Okay, let's go ahead and plug that in. Next, we want the URL. So this is where we actually want to get the live URL of the article. This one happens to be a Politico article, but essentially what we're going to have happen on the front end is when somebody clicks this item on our website, it's going to take them out to the actual article so they can read more about it. The image here, let's go ahead back into the image field and look for an image file. So here it is, raw picture. So we can actually get the image that's associated with this article and put it in right here. Again, these fields, name, URL, image, summary, sources, number of searches, are just matching up with what we have here. If we were to add another column to this spreadsheet, such as like right here, we would actually see column in Zapier when we click refresh fields. So let's go to summary. There should actually be a summary description here. Yep, raw news item snippet. So this is just a snippet from the article, so we can actually grab a summary. Sources, this is going to be pretty straightforward. We can find here that the raw news item sources are Politico and the Washington Post. And then finally, the number of searches. So we want to tell our users how popular this item is by showing a number of searches. If we come in here, we can see the raw approximate traffic from this piece of news content. And this one happens to be 50,000 plus. So let's go ahead and click continue. So now we have our action all set up. We're going to send this record to Airtable. Let's go ahead and test it. Before I do that, let's go back to Airtable. You see all these ones are in here. Let's see here. We have 323 items because I ran this in a big batch to make sure that it would work. But let's go ahead and try syncing this new article. Test and continue. Go back here, and it should just populate right at the bottom of this Airtable once it's done. Let's give it a second. Okay, it took 1 second, but here it is. Everything synced over. If we drill into this record or expand it here, we could see that the name of the article has appeared. We got the URL, we got an image from the article, we got a little bit of a summary, we got the sources and a number of searches. So everything is coming over to our Airtable, which is great. We've populated this nice Airtable base with lots of articles that we can now use to build out a front-facing website that somebody can come to and search for Google Trends. We could call it Internet Trends. And basically we're repurposing data from Google Trends and allowing people to filter it further and get a better view. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go over to Softr. And I have an account with Softr, so I'm just going to go ahead and log in here. Just a second. Okay, so now I've logged into Softr. You can create an account for free on Softr if you don't have one. I have a couple applications here that I've built in the past, but what we want to do is we just want to go ahead and click new application. They have one of the great things about Softr is they have all these different sort of templates that you can use or use cases. I think resource directory would be perfect here. If you go, you could choose whatever works best for your sort of idea. But I think that something like resource directory is perfect for this type of site because we're just making a directory of resources or news articles in this case. This template here, leaderboard website, is pretty cool because it almost mimics like a product hunt functionality. So we can populate these articles and even allow our members to upvote articles as they come in. So we can have this sort of trending website of our own built on top of Google Trends. So let's go ahead and click use template. And this is going to spin up a whole new website for us. The first thing that we have to do is grab our Airtable API key. The Airtable API key, if you're in Airtable, you can find it here up in your account. And then right here, this is where your API key lives. I'm going to go ahead and paste this in off video so that my API key remains hidden. Okay, so I put in my API key. Now I just need to select my base. Let me see here. Okay, so it actually has me create a base, but I actually think I could select my base. Here we go. Yep, I could choose trends. That's just the Airtable based called trends that we just created a couple minutes ago. Let's go back to Softr and we'll click connect to Airtable. And what this does is it's going to connect our Airtable base to this website now so we could start to map the data. We're getting an error here that something went wrong, but let's explore and see what's going on. Click into this site. We can start to make edits to everything that's here. So this is our heroes section. We could say discover what's trending. We could say a collection of the hottest articles on the internet. I'm not going to do too much customization because I want to show you how we can get this all working, but you could put a sign up field here or whatever you want, some sort of call to action that would work best for your use case. Now, if we come down into this section here, this is really, we can connect all of our data and make this all work. So because we've already connected our Airtable, Softr is smart and knows that our Airtable base is trends. Now we just have to select our table. So we're going to choose table 1. As you can see, it's already starting to build out our site a little bit. We just have to connect some of these different views. So the view that we want to choose is actually the grid view here. So let's go ahead and choose that. And then we want to sort by, we could just do searches A to Z for now. Number of items per row, let's just say we do 25. Okay, so now we have 25 different pieces of content that are going to show up on our homepage. Okay, so now what we want to do is we just have all this dummy content here. So we need to actually make this work and start connecting the data. So what we need to do to start connecting this data is once we've set up this list properties and we've got everything connected, we've said that we want to have 25 items per page. We come down here. This is just the inline filters, which is this here, which we could set up later. But down here in the list item fields is where we're really going to map this all together. So the first thing is the image. So we want to actually get our image from the image field in the Airtable base. And as soon as we connect that, we can see that all of the images in our Airtable base here are actually populating in the image field here. Next up is the heading. So this would be like the news article title in this case. So let's go ahead and choose name. There we go. Now we're getting the name from all of these articles right in the header field, the name field here. Next up, we have this sort of subtext. I think this would be a great place to put the short description. So let's go ahead and put summary there. There we go. We're getting a short summary of each article so that our readers can actually get a little bit of preview of what the article is about before they go ahead and click it. There's also this tag field, which I'm not sure what that's connected to here. Let's go ahead and let's try sources. I actually don't see where that's popping up, but give me a second here. Okay. So I got it to work. Basically, I just didn't have this field turned on. So the tag field was turned off. Let's go ahead and turn that on, and we connected it to sources. So now we can see under each article, the source of the article. For this one, it's the CNN and the New York Times are the sources that contributed to the popularity of this article. So pretty cool. We have our upvote button. We could leave this on or off. You could actually just toggle off the upvote if you want. And let's just go ahead and do that for now. You see how easy it is to add the upvote, but we'll go ahead and leave this off. A couple other things here, the search bar. We want to go ahead and leave this in. We can search by name or description, and then we can actually choose here, if we click this, the fields that are accessible through the search. So we want people to be able to definitely search the name, the sources, the summary, and that's probably good. So if somebody does a search, it'll actually search our Airtable base through the name, sources, and summary fields to see if it could find anything relevant to that search. So let's go back down here. We want to actually add another field. We want to add a field here. We're going to make it be a text field. It could be like a rich text, a URL, a button, a tag. There's all kinds of different things, like even rating or divider. Let's just make this a simple text for now. We're not going to actually, we will put a label, and we'll just say the number of searches Okay, so now you can see this label here says number of searches, and we could connect this to the number of searches. So now, as you can see, it's a little bit dark. We can change that by clicking this color palette here, and we could change the color to white. Number of searches. So now we can see the number of searches very clearly right below the number of searches label. Now, one thing that you may wonder is, okay, I would like to have a comma here. So everything is controlled by your Airtable. So you could just format this data in Airtable however you want it, and it'll appear the same way here. So if you want commas or number signs in Airtable, or on your front end, then you want to make sure that's formatted correctly in your Airtable. So we have the number of searches here. Let's go ahead and go back. So this is looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and preview our site. It's going to take a second here, but we should get a preview. Yep, here we go. So now our site is working. We have the number of searches, we have the article, we have an image, we have the sort of sources where they're coming from, and you can go right through this. You could actually search, you could say Joe, and there we go. We're getting any article where it's finding the word Joe in the article. Pretty cool. The other thing that we might want to allow our users to do is just filter by like category or tag. So let's go ahead and do that. If we come back here into Softr, we can label this all categories. We could say filter, we could filter by. So let's just say we want our users to be able to filter by the sources. And we can allow multi-select. Okay. Okay, for our filters, we want to filter by perhaps the sources. What we do here is we put the word filter. You can actually choose first off where this filter goes. So it could be on the left-hand side. It could be on the right-hand side. It could be on the top, just like that. It could actually be a drop down, which is pretty cool. You could have your filters drop down. I think that looks pretty good. And what you have to do is actually manually type in your sources separated by semicolon. So we could do like CNN, BBC. And as you could see here, as I type these in, they are going to appear. Let's just do the preview. There they are, CNN, BBC. The sources, the filtering is a little bit more manual because you have to actually type in what you want users to be able to filter by. But once it's there, it's done. And if you added a new source or something like that, you could simply add that. Now, the last thing I want to show you is that what happens when somebody clicks one of these articles, we actually want them to go out to the website where the article lives. So let me show you how to do that. Okay, so down at the bottom, so let's just preview this real quick. If somebody clicks this right now, nothing happens. So there's no event happening as somebody clicks. So that's great. This is just like an informational site, but really you want somebody to be able to take action and click one of these articles and then go find the content. So down here at the bottom of all of this, all of these settings, there's this on click action. What we want to do is you could open a page, which would actually be like a detail page of this piece of content. So you could provide more content, maybe like an analysis or the summary of the art, like a more comprehensive summary of the article. But we want to actually open an external URL because we actually have that URL automatically from Google Trends. So we just go ahead and check our field to be URL, and we want this to open in a new window so that people could stay on our site, but also click out to these new articles. So let's go ahead and preview and see what this does. Okay, let's just say I'm browsing through here and I'm interested in this article here, DC League of Super Pets. If I click it, this article actually is no longer found. So let's try a different one. Let's try, that's the same one. Let's try this one. Okay, so 1 second. Okay, so I figured out what was happening. Essentially, what happens is when there's a new item in the feed from Google Trends, because there are multiple sources or multiple articles associated with that piece of news, when we send that link to Airtable, it's actually sending multiple links. So when we click the link, the URL, it's bad. So we just have to change the URL to be either the trends URL, or you could parse out the second part of that URL at the comma. Either way would work. But then once you do that and you click the link, everything will work fine. I'm not going to go into detail on how to do that, but it's a pretty simple fix. But essentially, you were able to build a Google Trends website in just a few clicks using your own website rather than actually on Google Trends. You could do a lot of really creative things like this, like in Zapier, you could do all kinds of filters to filter out only content around the topic that you're interested in, or you could even grab the data feed from Google Trends for the topic that you're interested in. I hope this was helpful. I hope you found it interesting. Have a great day.